Boston College needed to make a splash in the transfer portal. Finally, on Wednesday, they did just that.
You are Locked On Boston College, your daily podcast on the Boston College Eagles. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, welcome. This is Locked On Boston College. I'm your host, AJ Black. I'm the editor and publisher of Eagle Insider. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $150, win or lose. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. So today's show, big transfer portal news for basketball. We're going to look who that is and look at what should come next for BC basketball in the transfer portal. We'll talk about both of those. And on Wednesday night, there were the Golden Eagle Awards. We'll talk about who won, and I'll talk about how I would love to see those awards divvied out and changed a little bit. We'll get into that in the last segment. So on Wednesday, the long rumored and crystal balled by yours truly, guard Dion Brown out of UMBC, which is University of Maryland, Baltimore City. Thank you for those who sent me the message to tell me what that meant. Committed. This is Dion Brown. He is a guard, 6'3", good size for a guard, who averaged, listen to this for a second, 19 points per game. He had 7 rebounds per game, and it was a 51% shooter. He's originally from Vermont, where he went to school. Sorry, he's from Massachusetts, but went to school in Vermont. So this is a local kid from Great Barrington, which I believe is like all the way in the corner of Massachusetts. And so this is a big-time scorer that Boston College needed badly. You lost Jaeden Zackery, Quinton Post, Claudell Harris, Mason Madsen, Devin McGlockton. I'm going to go down the list, right? Of all your scorers, you're down to your leading scorer returning was Donald Hand, who had 5 points per game. You needed a scorer. You brought in a kid that averaged 19 per game. You go over the list of how he did. Some of those games, he had 30 points, 28 points. He had some big games. And so you got a guy now who can shoot. He's a good shooter too. Like, he's not a kid that is a bad outside shot. He's 36%, 35% from 3-point range, so he can hit it from outside. Good size, good defender, and very good rebounder. I mean, you have a 6'3" junior who can get 7.6 rebounds per game. That is good. That is a very well-rounded guy. It's a guy that's kind of like Jay-Z, right? Like Jaeden Zackery. You get a guy who can get you the ball. He's probably going to be tough, and this is a homecoming for him. Now, I hear you guys out there. I saw a few of the comments on Twitter and on our blog. Oh, he's from UMBC. Who cares? They don't play anybody. They're the American East. I get it. I get your hesitations here. But one of his biggest games last year was against Louisville. He scored 28 points, going 11 for 20 shooting against the Cardinals. Now, last year you could argue the Cardinals weren't really a Power 5 team the way they were playing, but still, that's better than anyone on BC ever did. So he's done it against better opponents. So this adds a much needed scoring punch. You needed this so badly for your lineup. You have guards coming back like Donald Hand and Chaz Kelly, who you're hoping will develop into scorers, but you don't know it yet, and you haven't seen it in the first couple of years. You bring in Dion Brown, you have an established scorer now. And I'm going to put up some info later of what Beacon Street Ball said about what this lineup could look like, but it's starting to shape up in the right direction. So Brown, just kind of giving you an overview on how the recruitment worked. This wasn't just a under the radar kid that BC landed. Last weekend, he took an official visit on Thursday to Boston College. I think it was Thursday. Thursday or Friday to Boston. It was Friday. Friday to Boston College. Saturday, he was at Butler. He checked out Butler. And I know a lot of folks were really worried. They were saying like, oh, BC has no chance. It's Butler. You know, they've got experience, and I get that. Like honestly, like it's Butler. Like they've had Brad Steven years and all that good stuff, right? Gordon Hayward. But BC was able to beat him out. Once I saw him come back and not commit to Butler, I knew he was going to be an Eagle. If you talk to Beacon Street Ball, who's been on our podcast, you know, a very connected BC basketball writer, he said, you know, he knew this guy was coming to BC last week. He didn't even care that he went to Butler. Like, he just knew that this kid was going to be here. This is a great opportunity for Brown, right? He played locally. He is from Massachusetts, even though he's from like the West Coast of Mass. And he gets to play in front of his family and friends. Like, you're not in Maryland anymore. And you get to play on a Power 5 team, right? You get to be part of a local group that, you know, you could be a local kid that can hopefully turn a team around that most people going into next year, myself included, we're starting to think like there's no chance this team's going to be anything. Now you have Brown, you have a piece. It's not everything. Like, you can't just say like because you got Dion Brown that BC's team is going to be like a contender next year. Can you say that BC got better? Absolutely. Can you also say that Earl Grant and Adam Walsh, the director of personnel there, they still have moves they have to make? Absolutely. And in our second segment, I'm going to talk about what those moves have to be. And one player they still have to get. We'll get into all of that in just a moment. All right, folks out there, I have a huge announcement here. I have been tracking the leaderboards every day, keeping my eyes on the scores, putting all my hearts into it, and I'm super pumped to announce I am finally on top. That's right. I'm talking about the hit mobile game Monopoly Go. You probably heard it. It's been downloaded over 150 million times. It's a great twist on classic Monopoly. You can play anywhere, anytime. You explore hundreds of Monopoly boards from Las Vegas to Camelot to the moon, all while raking in a huge fortune. Charge rent on iconic properties, just like classic Monopoly. You could charge your friends rent on your iconic properties as well, or go crazy and put the wrecking balls to their landmarks. But my favorite part is the leaderboards, where you can see who's a Monopoly tycoon and who's gone bankrupt. So get yourself on the charts. Download Monopoly Go now free on the App Store and Google Play. All right, folks, if you know me, you know I'm a huge fan of going to sporting events, theater, concerts, any chance to go out and check out some things in a venue. And with last killer minute deals, you got to check out GameTime, man. They got great deals on everything from concerts to theater to sporting events. And right now, they are the official ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets even faster and easier. You want to go check out the Red Sox but don't want to pay premium prices? Check out GameTime. Their prices are going to be the best. So you can see where you're seeing. You're going to get all-in pricing, which means that you can see right up front what the prices of your tickets are going to be. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with GameTime. Download the GameTime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your purchase. I use this all the time, folks, and I think you should too. So terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download the GameTime app today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. This is Locked On Boston College. I am your host, AJ Black, and we're talking about Dion Brown, a junior from Great Barrington, Massachusetts, who is going to be a much needed breath of fresh air for this offseason for basketball, because it had been so doom and gloom. All we've been hearing about is all the guys that they lost. We were on yesterday's episode talking about, is this Earl Grant's fault, or should they have been able to avoid this? Now you can look at the team and you can start to see it forming, right? You've got a couple of guards, Donald Hand and Chaz Kelly, that you're going to expect a lot more out of. These guys are going to come up. And now Beacon Street Ball, who's been on our show, if you've listened, you've heard him. He thinks the world of Chaz Kelly. Now, he missed the end of the last year with the medical issue. I think it was, I honestly don't know what it was. It wasn't an injury, but it was a medical piece, right? He missed parts of last year. Donald Hand was coming back from a knee injury. So hopefully both of them will be at 100% when it comes to the fall. You got those two back. You're also going to get Fred Payne back at some point. I don't know how long it's going to take. Knee injury. I don't. It sounds to me similar to what Hand had the year before, and he came back right away. So maybe Fred Payne will be coming off the bench. But you're going to have your two guards, Kelly and Hand. You're going to add in Jaeden Hastings, who I've been hearing all sorts of great things about. Like, this is a guy that they're expecting to be your starting center. Athletic, big. They've, they redshirted him for a reason, to get him ready. But remember the last time BC redshirted a player under Earl Grant? Who was that? It was Devin McGlockton, who came completely out of nowhere to become one of the better power forwards that we've seen on BC in a while. So I have faith that they're doing the same thing for Hastings. And, with posts kind of clogging that up, it might be nice just to, to get him in practice, to redshirt him and save that year. So he's going to be there. Then you're going to probably have Chad Venning next to him from St. Bonaventure, a 6'10" forward, 10 points per game, 7 rebounds. He's going to be another big body out there that you can do some things. But you still have another spot that you need to fill. And then you have some spots on your bench. So who will be that forward spot? Who should Boston College land that could fill out this roster so that you have a starting five that you feel pretty confident, or at least better, going into ACC play? Now, if you've listened last week, you know who I'm going to say, because it's the same guy I've talked about for the last week, and that is TJ Power. TJ Power needs to be the 3 on your team. He needs to come in and solidify this roster, because if you bring him in, he could become the star of this team. And then you look at your roster, and Beacon Street Ball had this in. He said Kelly, Hand, Power, Venning, Brown. I just missed somebody. Let me pull up his tweet. Hold on a second. So he views it a little differently than me. I just pulled it up. He has Brown, Hand, Venning, Power, Chaz. That's his starting 5. He said all along that he thinks that Earl Grant likes to go smaller, and he likes to have a lot of guards out there, and the guards need to be lengthy. That's why he's got guys like Brown, who's 6'3", because they can switch and do a whole bunch of different things. But that's his starting 5: Brown, Hand, Venning, Power, Chaz. But you need to get the key to all this is TJ Power. You need that guy out there, because he has the potential to be the star of this roster. TJ Power only averaged 4 points per game for Duke last year, but he was on a stacked roster with lots of guys that needed the ball, that he just sat at the end of the bench. If he got to Boston College, he would get those shots. He would be the guy. Now, I know folks are very, very worried about whether BC can actually land a kid like TJ Power, because, he's got a lot of attention out there. If you're looking at schools that are interested in him, there's Kentucky. I saw Arkansas is interested in him. There are schools like West Virginia, and so it's not going to be easy, right? Like, there are going to be teams that are going to want him. But again, Beacon Street Ball again is very confident that BC is going to land him. So that would be enormous if you had that 5, and then Hastings coming off the bench along with Fred Payne. You're feeling good. There's still needs that on this team that need to be addressed, though. It's not set in stone that this team would be successful. One big issue that I see, and this has been stuff that's been going on our board, is they're missing their Mason Madsen next year. Who's your spot shooter? A guy that can spread the floor, hit big 3-pointers. They don't have that. Josh Beadle is a 12% 3-point shooter. Dion Brown is not he's not that kind of shooter. He's a volume shooter. You need somebody else. So you're going to want to go in the portal. You have 3 spots left. You have I just did the calculation. You have 13 scholarships. You have 10 right now. You have 3 more spots to fill. You need to get a spot shooter out there. You need as well to get another big body, probably at the 4, that can do kind of what you got with Devin McGlockton. You don't need him to start. You just need someone back there that can do that. Now, both of these, a spot shooter you could probably find from any conference. A big like that, you're going to probably grab from a school that's in a lower conference. That's okay. You got to fill in some bodies. And the third one, it's going to be based off of whatever need that Earl Grant sees. So a big body, a 3-point shooter, and whatever the other need is. Remember last year, if I remember correctly, there was still an open roster spot when they went into the season. So TJ Power, I've been banging this drum for a while. The way Beacon makes it sound is that this is going to happen. This could happen soon, though. I've heard kind of the same thing from him all along. This is not like a new thing that he's just throwing on Twitter. So hopefully this happens. This would put BC in a better spot. How do you feel if you had a starting lineup like he said? If you went with Chaz, Hand, Kelly, Venning, and Power. Sorry, Chaz, Hand, Brown, Venning, and Power. How would you feel about your starting 5 going into next year? Is that good enough? Is that good enough to not be terrible? We'll have to talk about that in another episode, but leave it in the comment section right down below. In our final segment, it was award season in Chestnut Hill on Wednesday. Some awards were given up. I'll explain who those were, and I'll also explain if the awards looked a little differently, how I would give them out. We'll get into all of that in just a moment. It's playoff time in NBA and NHL. Baseball's in full swing, and FanDuel is your place to bet on every game. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $150, win or lose. Bet on everything from slap shots to home runs to slam dunks, all in an app that is safe, secure, and easy to use. What are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to make your first bet an automatic win. Were you like me? I saw last night that Celtics Heat game, and I was going, I don't think it's going to be much of a Celtics win. I'm going to go with the Heat to cover. Easy win right there. Also, I saw the over-under. I think it was like 205. And I said to myself, I got to score more points than that, right? Easy win. You can get those easy wins too if you head over to FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Hello and welcome. This is Locked On Boston College. I'm your host, AJ Black, and we are wrapping things up here. We are talking about the Eagle Awards. But before I do that, if you've not checked out all the NFL draft coverage around the Locked On Network, go check it out. Find your home team. If you like the Patriots, you like the Giants, you like the Eagles, it doesn't matter who you like. You find that Locked On channel. You can get all your draft coverage there as they get ready for the NFL draft. And this afternoon, I will be recording for Friday morning my draft preview of the BC Eagles that you're going to be looking for with Mitchell Wolf. We're going to be recording. We'll have a whole episode on that coming out for Friday. We'll be talking about Christian Mahogany, Elijah Jones, and Kyle Hergel, and any other news that pops up on the day. So make sure to check out tomorrow's episode and hit that like button so you know you're going to get it. Now, on Wednesday, as I said, the Golden Eagle Awards were held, and I think they're in Conti Forum. And they gave out a handful of awards for the last season. Now, they started off, and they posted some of them on Twitter. So let's go over who won. The Eagles Man of the Year is Quinton Post. Can't argue with that. He had a huge year. I would give an award for not hitting the transfer portal or leaving the program. That was big enough as it is. Women of the Year is Sydney Scales of the lacrosse team. Again, another important player on an awesome program. The men's MVP went to Cutter Gauthier. Makes sense. Most valuable player for the women, MVP of the women was Sydney Segala of the cross country team. She had a great season for cross country, so that obviously made a lot of sense. And men's and women's rookie of the year was Will Smith and Sammy Tabor of men and women's hockey, respectively. Right. So I get it. Like, this is like a big awards. They do it just, and they have their team awards too. So that's what I'm getting at here is if I were to give out team awards, who would I give it to? Who would be my MVP for each team? Okay. So I would give my MVP for men's football to Thomas Castellanos. I think he was the MVP clearly of last year, though Kai Robichaux is a close number 2 because we saw what happened when he didn't play. So my MVP for football would be Castellanos. My MVP for hockey would be Cutter Gauthier. I'd argue if I was to give an award for the entire athletics department, that Cutter Gauthier was the most valuable player just in general. Like, yeah, there's an Eagle of the Year, and I don't know exactly what those mean, but like the most valuable player in all of BC sports, and I think they kind of got to that with the Golden Eagles, was Gauthier. Close number 2, though, is Will Smith, right? My rookie of the year would have been Will Smith. Jacob Fowler would have been a close number 2, goalie for the Eagles. And then I agree with all the women's choices, right? You have to have a lacrosse player. They're the best, right? And you could argue that there probably were some newcomers that were on the lacrosse team. I know they had like Emma Lapinto and a few others that came over and played that deserve some awards too. And then for basketball, it's Post, right? That's your MVP there. Then I look, at some of the other teams. I look at baseball. Right now, Cameron Leary is your MVP, though they're still playing, so they're not going to give it to him. I feel like he's your MVP there. You have, some of your other sports as well. My most improved Eagle, they don't put this one on here. Who would be my most improved Boston College player for the last season? And my most improved player has Mason Madsen. Madsen he was detrimental to the team because of his issue. His illness last year. He was just not doing what he needed to do last year. He became an excellent spot shooter for BC. Now I know you would not give this award to him because he just transferred out, but I'm just talking, theoretically, who would be my most improved player on that team, and that would be him. Those were just some awards. Thought they would be a nice way to end our episode. There wasn't really a ton of other news. BC football is on the road. The coaching staff's on the road, giving out offers. We have all the updates on that on Eagle Insider. I've been talking to a ton of the kids. If you want to get those interviews and see if they're going to be coming on campus, if they're going to be taking official visits, check out Eagle Insider right now. Check us. Come on over. Right now, it's 30% off an annual subscription. If you want to support our work, it's the easiest way to do it. Subscribe. You're going to get a ton of information on that site. I promise you, for what you pay, it'll be worth it. This is AJ Black again. I'll be back tomorrow to talk NFL draft with Mitch Wolf. And I hope to see you all there on Locked On Boston College, your team every day.